Hello, everyone. We are live. It is a live watch party. Guys, I have a special event for you tonight. We're doing a special live stream here. These are some of the channel members, the people who joined up, some super fans they're super fans of Cobra Kai. They're super fans of this channel. It's sort of a lot of great stuff. So thank you guys for joining me. So why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves? Explain how you came to Cobra Kai, how you found Watch Party, and a little bit of just about your journey that brought you here. Mark, do you want to start? Just say introduce yourself. Mark, your mic is muted though. Everyone, do I have to? Okay. Well, everyone. Okay. Cobra Kai Talk. Are you there?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Yeah. So I'm Cobra Kai Talk, and should I say how I found Cobra Kai? And
Yeah. Start with your journey, a little bit.
all right. So, I found Cobra Kai by, my sister wanted to watch it, and my mom didn't know if it was appropriate for her, so she
Mhm.
had me watch it first, and that's just kind of how I fell in love with the show.
So you're like the test subject?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then so you fell in love with the show. When was that? When was that? When it was on
Um,
Netflix or?
it was a little before Netflix. It was like maybe like a month before. It came to Netflix, so yeah.
Okay, so you watched it first on YouTube
Yeah,
just before it came. Okay, sounds
yeah,
good.
like a
And
month
then and
before.
then and then you have your own YouTube channel and stuff. And how did you get into the sort of that business?
Well, I always wanted to make a channel about it, but I never really thought that people would like be interested. And then I saw like Cobra Kai Kid and you, and then I thought maybe I'll just try it out. And yeah, that's how I started my channel.
Okay. Do you remember what like your first video of mine
Ye-
you saw or how you found
Um,
it?
I'm not 100% sure what the first video was, but I know it was like so. I don't know.
Was it right then when it started on Netflix is when you were
Um,
on YouTube as well?
Yeah, I started looking it up. I started like looking up YouTube channels when it went to Netflix, and
Mhm.
then that's when I started like seeing YouTube channels.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. So thank you, Cobra Kai Talk.
Yeah.
He's got his own channel too. So um let's see. John, you've been around a little while, so why don't you go ahead and fill us in here? What's
Yeah,
your journey here?
yeah, I had been, I had read that all the way back to the YouTube days that there was going to be a web series that was going to be about uh, Johnny Lawrence and Daniel and the Karate Kid universe,
Mhm.
and I had read it on and off several times over about 6 months, and then I was thinking, okay, is this thing ever gonna get off the ground? And then it launched on YouTube, and then I watched the first two episodes of season one that weren't behind the paywall,
Mm.
and then I discovered that the other eight were. So I went and immediately signed up to see the other ones, and then I started after season two, or for about the middle of season one. I started looking for channels and searched Cobra Kai, and I found Peter and Brianna, and I found Biz Hacks, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then one day after season two, I was searching around, and I happened to find your channel here. And it was the first video I saw. You had one where you were talking about how Tori was in, big trouble, and her mom was. You thought maybe going to go meet with Kreese at the dojo to have it out with him about the influence she had
Ah,
gotten
yes.
Kreese.
Yeah, I remember that video.
Yeah. So that was, you know, your first video that I ever saw, and then, you know, I found, you know, Drew and Peter and
Mhm.
Brianna, and from there.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. It's a big
and then
community
the
there.
platform switch happened. So
Right,
that
and
was a
then it got
whole,
bigger.
yeah.
Okay, Riley,
Hey,
why don't you go ahead and fill us in? What was your journey here?
so it's funny. Finding Cobra Kai at first was kind of a mistake. I was browsing through YouTube. I was bored. This was back in 2018 when the show first had come out. I saw it in the recommended, and it said the Karate Kid story 30 years later. And so
Mhm.
my initial thought was, you know, this is some lazy cash grab. This is probably just going to be horrible. So I watched it with
Mhm.
the intent of kind of making fun of it, I guess.
Right, yeah.
So after finishing the first episode, though, I was, you know, I was blown away with how quality it was. And
Mhm.
at the time, I didn't have a YouTube subscription, so I had to wait until the end of the year for like Christmas for me
All
to
right.
be able to finish the show. But since then, I've been a huge fan of it. So yeah, and I found your channel probably around season 3, like the uh, theories and stuff.
About a year ago, or okay, leading into season 3. So,
Right. Yeah. So probably around that period. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that was around then.
yeah, because we had a bit of a stretch because you know the platform switch, so there was a big extra gap essentially, you know, half a year or so. Um, so yeah, and so I just was like, okay, I'll just keep putting out videos. So yeah, definitely. That's cool. Thank you, Riley.
Yeah.
So let's hear. We'll bring it over to Mark. Um, so Mark, why don't you go ahead and just share a little bit of your story here?
I guess what it would basically boil down to is, like I said, most everybody else has said. Um, saw season 1 come out. That was kind of cool. You know, watched the 2 free episodes and then immediately just went ahead and got a subscription, watched season 1. And during the wait between 1 and 2, I came across your first video that you did and
Yeah.
thought it was a really cool idea to keep it up, you know, doing
Mhm.
Cobra Kai stuff, because I liked how you, you know, kind of dug deep in behind the scenes and stuff. And, you know, would put some investigative work into your videos.
Yes, yes. So for anyone you know watching, so you don't know, I've mentioned him a couple of times here, but Mark, so when I first started this channel, the very first video was actually a video on the Orville, a sci-fi show by um what's his name, Seth MacFarlane. So because that was another show I watched, and like I was thinking of the different shows I watched and liked, so I made a show on that. In my very second video, the week later, the season 2 teaser trailer had just come out. So I just started this channel, I only had one video, looking for stuff to talk about, and so the season 2 teaser trailer came out. I saw it, I thought, oh, this is really good. You know, I was already a big fan of Cobra Kai. I loved season 1. I had my YouTube subscription. I actually kept it so I could watch it. I had watched the season several times and I was interested and wanted to talk about it. So it just so happened the trailer dropped. And so I made a video on it, right? Um okay, so I made that video and then it was just the next day, you know, I got my very first comment ever on this channel was from Mark there. So he said, you know, love the video, keep making Cobra Kai videos. So so thank you, Mark. So a lot of this, actually everything you see is because of Mark. So you can
Well,
always thank him or curse him if for
yeah.
those of you who think I'm a it's trouble on it. Um so anyway, let's get into season 4. So let's just talk a little bit about season 4. Just, you know, we're a few weeks removed, so you've maybe seen it even a few times. You've had some time to digest it. Let me tell you something. Doing that first stream just a couple hours after I finished, you know, the series, that's hard because like you really need to digest this show, and it's sort of hard shooting off, your initial reactions and everything. But you've all now had a few weeks to digest it. So we'll go back in maybe the reverse order here. So we'll start with you, Mark. Just when you saw season 4, what was your first reactions, your takes on it, and everything?
I guess my first reactions of it were, I'm probably going to be different than most people on this one. Like episodes 1 through 5, I really enjoyed up until about the breakup of Johnny and Daniel. And then after that, it kind of slowly tailed off to where it kind of lost focus of the actual show and like the meaning behind it. And by the time it got to the tournament, to me, I didn't really enjoy the tournament as much as I thought I would going into the season. Saying that, don't get me wrong, it's still a good show. I still enjoy it, but it wasn't what I was expecting, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, and I even said the same thing in my review. I definitely thought the episodes 1 through 5 or so, the first half was as good as anything. There was, it was clunky or something. The back half, I feel like they're putting plot points, but I mean, definitely I agree with that in some ways. So, Riley, why don't you go ahead and let us know what was your take on season 4 when you first saw it?
So I watched it when it first came out. I watched it, through the night, and I really enjoyed it personally. I had a couple of issues with it, like not spending enough time with certain core characters like Miguel and Hawk. But for the most part, I thought it was a really solid season. I think I'd say it was my second favorite so far, after season 1. And yeah, I mean, my problems, I do have problems with it, but not too many,
Yeah. I mean, like you said, nothing either of you have said so far is like, or something that you're the only one who said that. I made a video about Miguel almost being a little on the sidelines, and if you just read through the comments of that video, trust me, there's so many people who just feel like, oh man, where's Miguel?
Right.
So definitely, Riley, a lot of people feel the same way. John, what did you feel when you first, taking in season 4 here?
My overall reaction when I saw, because I went 1 through 10 and I was like, wow, because I think from one standpoint, I think Thomas Ian Griffith stole the show. I mean, he made it this season by coming in as Silver. But I'll say this, I was a little bit surprised that there were certain things that we thought there would be more detail put into that wasn't. One thing I have been vocal about was the conversation with Johnny and Daniel regarding Silver and Barnes and the whole thing. And it seemed like it was handled in 2 or 3 lines, with Daniel saying, after I beat Barnes, I never saw Silver again until he showed up today. And then Johnny kind of bitches and moans about, well, you mean to tell me you only had to do 1 match to get to that's ridiculous. And that was the whole conversation. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, come on. So I was disappointed in that, because I thought that if that had been explored more, Johnny would have said, what the hell? Wow. And he would have been like, okay, we got to get these guys, but he was more interested in complaining about how Daniel only had to fight Barnes. The other thing that I was a little bit, surprised with is that Carmen was made, a main character, and I don't think she got enough screen time. And I certainly don't think Miguel did.
Right. Yeah.
And you kind of already said that, but she was bumped up to main character status, and she's supposed to have this thing with Johnny, and there wasn't really much to see with that.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot going on. I tend to think Carmen's story arc will maybe peak more next season, but yeah, definitely this season, she didn't have much going on, and the conversation you're referring to in episode 5. I mean, obviously, a lot of it happened off screen, and if every conversation in this show went perfectly, there would be no story, I guess. So there's always going to be a little drama. Um, but thank you for that. So Cobra Kai talk. How did you take season 4? What do you think?
Yeah, like a lot of people said, I really liked the season, but like I don't really like how they handled a lot of the characters that I wanted to have more screen time didn't get that much screen time, which like is kind of like
Mhm.
Miguel. He was kind of just
Right.
like pushed to the side. Hawk was not even there for like an episode or like two, like 1.5 episodes. But I mean, like everything was good, but John said, like a lot of like the scenes that were supposed to have more detail,
Mhm.
like you thought were gonna be longer, were just like cut like halfway, and just like you saw like the end of the conversation, not the whole conversation,
Mhm.
which would have been nice.
Right, definitely. Yeah. I mean, definitely it's very obvious in season 4 there's just so much going on. You know, they're cutting it sort of to the bones in it, you know, for the whole plot points and stuff, you know, just you're getting the big points and it doesn't have as much time to go into that detail.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like even like the tournament, I thought we were gonna see more of the fights,
Mhm.
but they didn't. Like another just montage of like everybody, like them just getting like the last point, or like
Right.
yeah.
Mhm. Definitely there were more fights. You know what? Let's go ahead and you know, this season's all about the tournament, so let's just talk about the tournament and what happened at the tournament every step of the way. John, what do you think like about the results? You know, you have 2 champions. Um, Hawk won, Tory won, Cobra Kai won overall. But then, you know, as we saw at the end, maybe there was some shady dealing going on. So what are your take on that?
I always thought that Silver, and I'd said this even in, streams of yours and other people's over the year, that I thought Silver was going to try to do something,
Mhm.
underhanded. But I don't think he needed to do it. I think that it was set up for Cobra Kai to, win, and they really didn't need to do that. Story wise, he didn't need to do it. So I was a little bit disappointed in that because it took away from Tori. She's had, a lot of stuff going on and she's responsible for a lot of stuff. But I was disappointed in that because she finally accomplished something only to find out that, did she really accomplish it, or was it predetermined, right? Kind of like
Right.
a
Mhm.
professional wrestling match,
Right.
I mean, we know those are predetermined, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, but they didn't really need to do that. I thought the Carrie Underwood thing was a little overdone, and I thought it interfered with the tournament overall. And I was really surprised because Daryl Keith didn't introduce the other dojos. They had it set up where he concentrated on Cobra Kai, Miyagi Do, and Eagle Fang. And in the first tournament in season 1, he had introduced Topanga and a couple of the other dojos that were there. So I thought that, and I hate to be down in the weeds about that, but I think that detail got missed.
Well, he did much longer introductions this time, so it was part of a great with the music. That's the song. It's Karate Time. I even made the music video if you guys saw that. So let's go to Riley. How did you take the tournament? Are you happy with the way it went?
So I have a couple of thoughts on the tournament. I
Mhm.
thought overall, I mean, I enjoyed the 2 episodes. I think that the fight between Hawk and Robbie was probably one of the best choreographed in the entire show. I really enjoyed that fight
Yes.
between
Mhm.
them. I think that
Mhm.
was like it just the way that they played it out, and same with Tori and Samantha's fight. I think the choreography for that was very well done. Um, Not seeing Miguel fight was really hard. Like especially going back and watching it again, it's very difficult to see something like that happen. It's
Right.
probably one of my least favorite parts of the season overall is
Mhm.
just the fact that he doesn't even give a decent explanation for,
Do you think it was in character? Do you think him not fighting
no,
was in
I don't think
character?
it was in character. Really,
Mhm.
personally, I think he would have at least said something about how they didn't have enough points to beat Cobra Kai, it would have been, I think they should have spent more time in his reasoning with him as a character. I feel like they could have made it make sense if they had spent more time with him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also agree that the Carrie Underwood thing was definitely really, it caught me off guard, and it just kind of confused me. And
it's probably the most controversial in the thing show so far. Some people really liked it. I didn't mind it, but definitely there's some people who are like, no, or some people don't like the song choice, but yeah, definitely.
I mean, the song wasn't bad. The montage itself was well done, as all of them are, but I agree with the others when I say that it would have been nice to see more qualifying matches.
Yeah.
So overall, I liked it, but there were some moments that really kind of weren't so good.
Let's go to Mark. So what, I'll ask you about the tournament and overall, and then Miguel not fighting. Do you feel like that was forced, almost like it was a cheat in the plot?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff with the tournament that kind of felt like it was shoot in out of nowhere with the Carrie Underwood. I like, that was the first thing I thought of. Like when she popped out, it's like, how realistic is a star of Carrie Underwood's caliber going to show up at a high school karate tournament? I mean, to me,
I will tell you, they actually have an explanation. I just listened to it. If you listen to Cobra Kai Companion, Peter, who hosts that, is in the chat. They just interviewed John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg, and they actually said they literally have this whole logic on how it happened. Well, her husband is a hockey player, so he gets his teeth banged up, and then so Ron is an oral surgeon, so it makes sense that he's fixing Carrie Underwood's teeth, and then Ron has this long history of wanting, celebrities, and so Ron. So this is what they thought of in the thing. Obviously we're watching it, and it's like, oh look, here's Carrie Underwood out of nowhere, but they had a whole logic behind it.
If the creators have to come up with that big of a story to shoot tie somebody in, just shows it doesn't fit. But with Miguel, I do agree. I do see the injury angle and with his back and taking precautions, but it was just kind of left at a whim of, will he show up or won't he show up? I feel like there should be a little bit more dialogue between Johnny and him, to where he says, you know what, Sensei, we're not fighting to win a tournament. We're fighting to get rid of Cobra Kai, and we're fighting to do all this other stuff. It's not about me. It's more about you. Because I think that's how he felt with kind of their conversations, but it was never really said. You could just kind of tell he was always dejected when Johnny was like telling you, it's time to step up and be a man and show him what you're made of. And he's just like, yes, Sensei. Like he seemed like he was already defeated. And I don't have a problem with Hawk winning. I think Hawk has been, one of the main characters since the beginning of the show. And he had an interesting season. The scenes that he was in and had dialogue, I think was impactful for his character, but it wasn't very many, So to give him a bone at the end of, oh, well, Hawk won the tournament, that way it seems like he had a purpose for the season. But I think kind of for his whole character, he was kind of a background character for most of it. And I know you said that a couple of times too.
Yeah. And really, Hawk wins. He holds the trophy up, and then he goes away like he doesn't have any dialogue, and then he's pretty much literally gone the rest of the episode and dash season. So
yeah,
you think like for a champion, it just kind of fades off. You
could have had Moon come up and give him a big hug afterwards or something. Just a little small shoehorn or something.
Right. What about Tory's win? How did you feel about that?
Tory's, well, I guess kind of after Hawk won, you kind of knew Tory was going to win. If you were thinking Cobra Kai was going to win, which for the show to continue on to another season, they kind of had to win. So the putting in Silver to kind of pay off the ref, to where, he called Sam out of bounds, or Tory out of bounds, when Sam actually did land a legal point, which kind of was the difference. I think it'll be interesting to see where they go with that nugget of information now that Tori knows that the ref was paid off. Will she actually say something to Sam about it? Or even Daniel or Amanda, So it'll be interesting to see how her relationship with Silver will be in the next season.
Definitely. Cobra Kai talk. I mean, what was your favorite part of the tournament?
Well, my favorite part of the tournament was the Hawk and Robbie fight because that was like amazingly like done. But yeah, with like the Miguel not fighting, I hated that. I just don't think that Miguel would do that without a better explanation. It's just not in his like. I just don't think that he'd do that. But
Yeah.
yeah. So like the whole tournament, I liked it, but like I don't even know Carrie Underwood is. I think that's her name.
I'm actually not much of a fan either. I've heard of her, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really even know who she was before the tournament, but I just think that was a little ridiculous. Like I'd much rather just like I mean, I like the song. The song is like pretty good, but I just think it was like a little weird for the tournament. I just think that I'd rather have like an original or like a rock song or something. That'd be like more Cobra Kai style.
Well, that's a different take. The song was from the original movie.
Oh yeah, it wasn't
yeah.
original, but
Yeah, but so with but that's a good take. So what did you guys think was like most surprising about the tournament?
I think the fact that Robbie didn't win. I really wanted Robbie to win, honestly. I think he deserved it this season. And don't get me wrong, I like that Hawk won. I'm a big Hawk fan, but I think Robbie should have won. That was probably the way that they set it up. How they said like if Cobra Kai wins this first match, then they win overall. I was like, oh well, it's obvious Robbie doesn't win, so that kind of eliminated all of the suspense for the fight. I was still happy, but I think the season was setting it up for both Robbie and Tory to win, but the payoff wasn't there.
Yeah, it was definitely a journey for Robbie, and yeah, I've thought he was going to win. Something, and I'm curious if anyone else felt this. It's not like something major, but like during the Sam Tory fight, I almost feel like there was a little bit of like Sam Tory fatigue because this is like the third season in a row. These two girls are kind of going at each other and flashbacks. I don't know if anyone else had that for like a final match.
I guess to that point, I would kind of agree that I guess my biggest surprise out of it was that Sam Tory was the actual final match. I thought it was going to be the boys match, which would be the final, because it would kind of broke up that little bit. You still would have had Sam versus Tory, but it wouldn't have been for everything, like if they would have done like basically just inverted the two finals and let the guys go last, because then, well, I guess that wouldn't work because Tory was going to win, but I guess you could flip the winners.
Right. Yeah. It's that's the part of the whole, setting the plot in motion. It's like if this is Cobra Kai has to win and then this has to win. So it's definitely how it had to pull out. So let's talk about, some of our characters over the season. What did you Terry Silver? So we'll start Riley. How did you take Terry Silver? Had you seen Karate Kid 3? Were you familiar with it? Definitely. Okay.
Yeah. So Karate Kid 3 is it's a great movie, but it's one of the cheesiest movies out there. It's super cheesy, but I think Terry Silver was honestly one of the best parts of this season. Like even his like the first scene that he's in with him playing the piano it was such a great way to start out the season. Like symbolically, the way that, he changes the song, and the song that he actually plays on the piano plays when he's beating Stingray. So it's like it connects him from the beginning of the season knowing that he's bad, knowing that he's going to go bad, and then him being bad at the end of the season. But overall, I think he was really well done. Thomas Ian Griffith did a great job.
Yeah. Cobra Kai talk. Do you have any thoughts there on Silver?
Yeah, I thought that Terry Silver was like really well done this season. I liked how they kind of just like he was a normal guy at the beginning, and then he just like slowly started becoming that crazy like psychopath, I guess, like throughout the season.
Right. Yeah.
And
He was a normal ultra rich guy. You know,
yeah, he was a normal rich.
Definitely. So, but what was your favorite scene with him?
I really liked when he was beating up Stingray, because that kind of like showed that
Because you
like,
hate
that-
Stingray, you just like yes.
No, Stingray is like one of the best characters in the show, but that kind of just like was like the peak of like that showed that he was that like crazy Karate Kid 3 like again.
Right. Yeah, he was totally back. John, how did you feel about Silver?
I thought it was really well done. I honestly, I don't like to get simplistic about it, but I thought it was perfectly done. I mean, you see a guy in Silver that has cleaned up his life, right? And then Kreese shows up, and he goes back to the same hell he was in 35 years ago. And I also like that the big three cleaned a lot of stuff up. Like okay, so Silver was crazy. He was laughing like a hyena. He was just doing things and yelling and screaming. Okay, so why was he doing that? Oh, he was on drugs. Okay, yeah. So they cleaned that up. And I thought that the journey was, from a clean life back to the crazy, drugged up Terry was excellently done. The one thing I do wish that that they would have done, that hasn't been done yet, and they may be planning this, is that Silver, I don't know, was Cheyenne supposed to be his wife, or
well, they weren't married, but they were a couple.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, to see him lose that, and he to see him hit the bottom again and realize, he realized at the end that Kreese was his weakness. Now, we won't get into that yet, because I'm sure you're going to ask about that. But he let Kreese influence him, and we see what happens here again with Kreese when he gets his hooks into somebody. They eventually end up just like Silver.
Mark, were you excited for Terry Silver?
Yeah, I mean, Terry Silver, like they were saying from Karate Kid 3, he was the highlight of Karate Kid 3. If there wasn't a Terry Silver in it, the show would not be even worth watching. But to bring him back and the way they brought him back, I thought it was interesting, to where he at first kind of pushed back and was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not getting back into that lifestyle. And then to watch him kind of slowly turn and turn. I did like it whenever he was talking to Kreese about learning from their past and learning from their mistakes and trying to kind of change. And it just seems that he did it at the beginning, but then when it came time to the tournament, he never changed. He bought out the ref. He was still the ultimate madman pulling the strings behind everybody.
Right. But then maybe in his way, he thinks, that was the mistake of the past. So he is learning from the past. He should have bought out the ref the first time around, or just did something different. That's something I was saying in today's video.
Yeah, I kind of agree that Mike Barnes losing to Daniel was because of their strategy. It was a very poor strategy.
Right. And here, Melissa here, Silver's character, he was redeemed at the beginning of season 4, but over the course, he went back to being a villain. Yeah, that's definitely, I think so, Melissa. Like, he was a guy who had his redemption and then threw it away. So let's and let's move on to the ending then. Mark, is it a good thing Terry Silver got Kreese arrested?
It'll be interesting on two ways. Interesting to see how his vision of Cobra Kai will be without Kreese around. And then it'll also be interesting once Kreese gets out and he has to pay for it with whatever Kreese has up his sleeve for when he gets out for Terry. I'm sure that'll be interesting and worth watching.
Definitely.
I thought it was a little weird. I didn't expect the show to go in that direction. Personally, I just was caught off guard by it. I think it's hopefully they play it out well, but personally, I think it was a little much. Because I don't know, it was a weird twist for me. Me personally, I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense.
Like that he would go that route, like because there's too many things that could go wrong, or like what is it that didn't make sense?
Yeah,
about
it wouldn't make sense to try and frame him for a crime like that. I think if there was going to be a schism there between Kreese and Silver, then it should have been something else. Like it was a very odd payoff to that conflict between them that I think will be kind of cast aside because they can't spend too much time on like a trial or anything. So ultimately they're going to have to.
Yeah, courts don't exist in this.
Exactly. So, they're going to have to cast it aside one way or another. So I feel like there could have been a more satisfying way to end that. Personally, when I was originally watching the end of season 4, I thought that he was going to poison Kreese. I thought when he was
a lot of people thought that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because he didn't take a sip of it when he first poured it. I was like, oh man, and it looked like Kreese was getting real sweaty and stuff. I was like, oh boy, he's going out. But
Game of Thrones style.
Yeah, I was like, no way, this show's going to be this dark. So it was what it is, and hopefully in the next season it has a good payoff. I'm looking forward to the fight between them. It's inevitable that they'll,
It's inevitable yet again.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai talk. Did you like how Terry Silver got Kreese out of the picture, or what happened with?
I mean, I didn't hate it. I thought that they're like, I mean, I wanted to see a fight, but I think that they want to save that for like next season because I think that's kind of how they're gonna get rid of one or the other. Maybe that's how they're gonna like get rid of Kreese, or I mean, I don't think that's how they're gonna get rid of Terry Silver because obviously there's gonna be like either a Chosen and Terry Silver fight or something like that. But I mean, I thought it was okay, the way that they got rid of Kreese, but I'd much rather like a fight or just like something that more interesting.
And John, did you have a take on that, or?
I actually thought that, somebody turning on somebody would happen, earlier than it did. I thought it would happen before the end, like at the old dojo in episode 8, right? Kreese told Silver, he's like, you got him to come here when he had Johnny there and he was beating the hell out of him. And Kreese clearly was not happy about it. Because in his own, way, he's always seen Johnny as a son, really, even if Kreese is crazy. But, I thought that he would turn on Silver there and be like, hey, leave him alone, back off him, and I'm going to, mess you up, kind of thing. And that would stick. And then Kreese would, kind of, I thought he would be retired this season. That obviously didn't happen. So I wasn't really right about that, but I thought it would happen earlier.
Right. Yeah. And I predicted Kreese would be removed somehow. I predicted, Silver was going to fight Kreese, maybe kill him, something like that. So I over predicted definitely on my own. And Hayden was happy. He said in an interview on Cobra Kai Companion that he was pleased that no one actually predicted what really happened, and that is correct. I don't think any of us predicted Silver beating Stingray to frame Kreese, and then hoping that Stingray will be will remember the deal when he woke up, because apparently he just beat him real bad, and he was out for a week. So let's oh wait, hold on. Let's see. Oh, so here's just an interesting note that Peter said Frank Helmer is the costume designer. He said Silver's wardrobe, it starts out bright and ends mostly dark and blacks, showing his descent back into the darkness. So definitely sort of you can even see it in the costuming, from that bright, colorful down into the dark.
Yeah,
black.
I actually never noticed that.
Yeah, it's like it's right in front of you, and I didn't think of it too until I saw that comment from Peter. But
That's
definitely
a pretty common
some
strategy
Right.
with a lot of shows.
Right.
With
And-
with wardrobe and bang, because in good television, everything in a set is intentional. Everything that they choose is meant to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought, talking about that, Riley, I thought it was particularly interesting in the store, in the convenience store, when Daniel's talking to Robbie and Silver walks up and he says he's not interested, Mr. LaRusso. And if you look closely, you'll see the coffee there. And in Karate Kid 3, Daniel made some remark to Silver and he said, "Wake up and smell the coffee, Mr. LaRusso."
Yeah.
And yet there's a coffee.
Nice little callback. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I,
Oh wow, I didn't even catch that. That's a good
Yeah,
catch right
it's a little one. That's that line replayed at I think it's the end of episode 4 when they're going to see him. They actually replayed that line too.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears. We'll go see Cobra Kai talk. We'll just start with you. Who was the better couple at prom, Robbie and Tori, or Sam and Miguel?
I'm gonna have to go with Robbie and Tori, only because Sam and Miguel were just like arguing half the time, or like they were just spend the whole time looking at Robbie and Tori.
Yeah, even they spent their time looking at Robbie and Tori.
Yeah. So I mean, like Robbie and Tori actually did something and had a good time. So I'm gonna have to say Robbie and Tori, and they beat the crap out of Miguel and Sam in the fight. So
there you go. Let's see. John, what did you think of prom and the couples there?
With them all going into the pool, I did wonder, were they doing an It's a Wonderful Life kind of thing, or was it a Dallas thing where, the Ewing family always had fights and at parties and someone ended up in the pool. And it turned out to be, at the end of it, I said, okay, they're doing the Dallas thing because now Sam and Miguel are arguing and Robbie and Tori are laughing it up, because, so yeah, I thought that, the whole thing with, I thought they were a little bit obsessed, like Riley said, about, or I think, was it Riley or Cobra Kai Talk? One of you said that they were a little bit obsessed, and I did think that it was a little bit overdone there.
Yeah.
But
Riley, do you think a prom would go like that?
Yeah, so I think Miguel and Samantha staring at Robbie and Tori, that was a little bit overdone. I think, they should have spent a little less time on that, a little more time on conversation.
Right.
I mean, they picked their outfits to be stared at, I think.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's a fair point. But it got to a certain point where it was like their fourth shot of them just looking at them, staring at them. And it's like, But the after party I thought was more interesting because there was a moment when Robbie is walking up and Miguel is standing there. And I thought for a moment, I was like, oh, are we going to get like a conversation, like an actual dialogue between these two? And then, it cuts with Stingray, talking on the mic and doing, or someone cutting off the music or something. I was interested because I've been wanting to see some kind of dialogue between the two, because you don't really see much of them interacting.
It's just when they're fighting.
Yeah, like literally season 3, you have one point where they see each other, and then in season 4 you have only a few. And so I thought prom was going to be an opportunity for them to talk before the tournament, but that was kind of not how it went. So which is
for mortal rivals, they don't actually have many scenes talking to each other or anything.
Right.
Mark, does that seem like a prom you went to, or?
No, definitely not. I guess the main parts of prom that would be good and bad. One, Terry giving them the Ferrari so they could go in style, and giving them money for, to go buy new outfits and stuff like that for Robbie and Tory, and to do what he said, to play mind games with them. That part of it made sense. The rest of it didn't really make too much sense to me. The one little side note that I did like was how Yasmin flew back to be with prom with Dimitri. I thought that was a good moment for him. And the whole time sitting there just watching Hawk look at Moon, I was waiting for Hawk to get up and strike first and remember Johnny's teachings and actually go talk to her, which that paid off in the tournament, but it would have been interesting to see if he actually went to talk to her during prom.
I guess, yeah, she was having fun. I think, yeah, they got lucky. I mean, I think the reason Yasmin, early in the season, she's like, oh, I'm going to be gone for the tournament and prom, is because Annalisa Cochran was in another show that I think was filming at the same time.
Yeah,
so they were unsure. They were unsure how much they were going to get her. So I guess they were lucky that they had her for that. And then, of course, no one was luckier than Dimitri. I mean, he got lucky there. But so yeah, and definitely some people think episode 8 is their favorite of the season. So it is definitely the mind games. I remember looking at it, and of course we have the big moment at the end of that episode with Miguel and Johnny. And I was thinking about it in the scenes with Miguel and Sam, because he was trying to say, hey, no karate, this tonight's about us. And I remember thinking, I think Miguel went into that thinking he wanting to drop the L bomb, so to speak. He wanted to tell Sam, I love you. He wanted to find the right time at prom. He didn't know when it was going to be, but like that was his night. And then prom went so bad for them. And then instead he says it to Johnny. And then of course Johnny sort of flips it back. So Mark, how do you even think that theory makes sense, or how do you feel about all of that?
I do think at the end was heartbroken, definitely, because it's a moment that he had been looking for, with him and Johnny, to where Johnny was saying everything Miguel wanted to hear in that moment, and then ends it with, oh yeah, Robbie, my rival. But yeah, I could see that with him and Sam. They were starting off the whole night, said, no karate, no this. And then literally, like when they get to prom, the first thing they're talking about is karate. So that'll be kind of interesting to see with their relationship, if it'll actually be a relationship or if it'll just be about karate only. Can they actually relate about something else?
Yeah.
Cobra Kai talk. Like, how did you take Johnny with his I love you to Robbie moment there?
Yeah, so during the the after party fight, Robbie tells Miguel that Johnny's just trying to make himself feel better for screwing up with him. And then Miguel tells Johnny that he loves him, and then he says, I love you too, Robbie, and that just makes it like even like that scene was really sad, and that when I rewatched it and I noticed that, it made it like even more sad, like much more sadder. But yeah, I do think that Miguel did want to tell Sam that, like you said. I agree with that. But yeah, that scene was really I like that scene.
The L bomb, they call it. So definitely. Riley, how do you feel about that? Where do you take it?
I do think that he meant to say Miguel. You know, I think
Mhm.
he really did mean what he was saying to Miguel. You know, he was definitely very drunk, but I think it was just a mistake on his part that he didn't catch. Um, but nonetheless, I think the acting in the scene was, you know, superb, and it really, really hurt, really hit the heartstrings there. So
Yeah.
um, I do think episode 8 was a great episode.
Mhm.
That scene, as well as the fight between Johnny and Silver, were the highlights of that episode for me.
Definitely. Yeah, the old dojo fight.
Yeah,
Party
Johnny
time.
held his own. You know, I was, you know, surprised about that.
Mhm.
Yeah, he didn't get one hit by Silver, so
It was a good fight. Yeah, that was a tangent. My bad.
No, it's a good one, and it's because it's right there in the middle of the whole episode. So
yeah.
by all means, John, do you think Johnny was really thinking? Johnny knew he was talking to Miguel and just said the wrong word, or what?
Well, I think I do think he said the wrong word because he let Miguel in to his apartment, right?
Mhm.
And he knew it was Miguel when he let him in. So I do think he, slipped and said the wrong thing, whether it was the beating he got from Silver that had him disoriented, or it was the booze talking. I do think he slipped up and said the wrong thing, and it's a heart wrenching thing. Um, and I also think, Johnny got Daniel's message uh, with Silver because Daniel told him, you can't strike first with this guy. And Johnny said, oh, yeah, well, we'll see about that. And then he got the hell beat out of him. So, I think he kind of got Daniel's message on that. But yeah, the thing with Miguel was, that really hit me hard when I saw that.
Mhm. Let's see. I'm trying to look at what did you guys feel about Tori? Do you feel like she's on any sort of like redemption arc or what's happening with her in this season? Whoever wants to jump in.
I guess with that one, yeah. I mean, you could kind of see Amanda's influence kind of coming across on her, with her going to therapy and with her aunt, talking about wanting to steal disability money, with her younger brother that she doesn't even know her name or how old he is. So she obviously doesn't care.
Mhm.
So it was kind of interesting, with Amanda kind of influencing her. She got back in school. She's trying to do better. Even in the tournament, when she elbows Sam, she was like, "Hey, that was an accident." And even after the last point, she was asking her if she was okay. That's a different side of Tori that they've never really put in there. Like it was always just fight, fight, fight for everything, and who cares who you hurt on the way. And now she's actually trying to show a little bit of compassion to Sam. So I think her story will be interesting going forward to see if she stays down that path or if she goes back to her old ways.
Yeah, I don't think it would take much to trip her back either. Um, so we'll see. Uh, Riley, how did you feel about Tori this season?
I liked her arc overall. I think the scenes between her and Amanda were very, stand out as well. I think the acting there is, very good, and I think she's definitely moving towards the direction of redemption. I think the next season we'll probably see that. I don't think they're gonna lead. They're gonna hint at her becoming good, only to just revert her back to a completely bad character. I think they intend to go in the direction of redemption, and her actions at the tournament definitely show that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Tori is gonna next season. She's gonna have a big redemption. I don't think that she's gonna maybe per se team up with Sam, but I think she's gonna just stop being she's gonna stop wanting to fight Sam whenever she sees her. She's gonna become just a better person. And
Mhm.
with her and Amanda, I really like that. And I like how they had like Amanda like understand kind of what she's going through with like getting in trouble as a kid. And I thought that like dynamic, like character dynamic was really well done. But yeah, I think that Tori is gonna have like a redemption next season, a big one.
Okay, so it's just leading to what's coming still.
Yeah,
That's how you think it.
Right.
Yeah. And
I
John,
think though.
yeah.
I think though that it'll depend. You know, eventually she'll get there. How long it takes will depend on how far Silver has his hooks into her. Because I think on one end, um, you know, she may be a little bit like Johnny was when the series started. She may be the anti-hero type of thing. Um, but I do think at some point, she'll get there and say, this hasn't worked for me. Look where it landed me in juvie and a whole bunch of other stuff happened that wasn't all good. And I think that she realizes now that she has to step up for her brother so she won't want to get into trouble. Um, but we'll see how long it takes her to get there.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And if I can add one more thing, I think
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think a redemption necessarily means that she'll leave Cobra Kai as a whole. I think she will probably become a teacher, and then through that she'll mature more, because I don't think Terry Silver will have as much of a impact on her mindset as some people think, because you can tell at the tournament that she's kind of pushing back at him, like when he's telling her, give her a shot to the other eye.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You can tell that there's kind of a disconnect there, and I think she'd probably side with Kreese in the conflict between them. Like in the end, she probably won't like express it, but I think that will kind of set them off. Like,
Right.
make it so that she doesn't really trust him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Because like Kreese was kind of like like a father figure in a way. Like whenever something would happen to Tori, like with Amanda, Kreese went straight and talked to Amanda. And I think that if she ever finds out, or when she finds out when that Terry was one that sent Kreese to jail, I think that she's gonna get really upset with Terry, and I'm interested to see how how that works out.
Right. There's a big climactic moment then at the end of episode 6 when Tori does come back to school, and then Sam kind of has her words with her, and it was kind of interesting because while talking about Aisha in on Cobra Kai Companion, that it was Hayden had brought up. He just said like Aisha gives her advice, and then Sam kind of takes that advice in her own way. And
Yeah.
many of us look at that and feel like it was the exact opposite. Like, how do you feel about Sam's there, the moment there at the end of episode 6?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, with that, it was kind of weird. I think what they were trying to do is show kind of a little bit of Johnny's teachings coming out in Sam, but it came out the wrong way completely. It was just weird. It was almost like she was bullying Tori now, and threatening her when for their entire relationship, it's kind of been the other way around, I guess would be.
So you feel like that was almost coming from
Right.
Johnny, that idea that.
Well, I mean, it was kind of a strike first mentality, of going up and directly talking to her, confronting your problems,
Mhm.
looking your problems head on in the face. I just think the way it was executed was kind of weirdly done, but I could see, to where, Johnny's telling her, get out of the back seat of the car, take control of your life. You need to be in charge, not sit by and watch. And then with Aisha saying, the person who I thought was going to be my bully is now my best friend because I walked up to her the first day and spoke to her, and we became friends. So she was thinking maybe I should just cut her off at the pass and let her know what I think, as soon as she walks in the door. But it was
Yeah.
just kind of weirdly done.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I said this before. The first time I watched it, it was weird. I was so confused. I actually paused it, rewound it, and watched it all just to figure out what was going on, because I was like, "Are we in another dream sequence? What's going on here? Is
Right.
Tori dreaming?" So, John, how did you feel about that?
I thought it was a little bit of reverse psychology, to be honest with you. You know, Tori had done it so often to Sam, and to have it, I was surprised by it. Pleasantly, that Sam finally stood up and said, "Hey, I'm not scared of you." She said it in season 3, but now she had power over Tori, because if Tori messed up, she would get expelled from school again.
Mhm.
So, hey, I'm not scared of you, and this time, if you screw up, I'm going to make life hell for you, right?
Mhm.
So I think it was a little bit of reverse psychology, and like others said, it was probably more of Johnny coming out in her than Daniel would like. But I thought it was a pleasant surprise.
All right, Cobra Kai talk. How did you take that?
I actually liked how Sam finally stood up to Tori, because I feel like Tori's always been the one who's like always going up to Sam and starting the fight. And I like how Sam is starting to, like, as people said, use Johnny's teachings and sticking up for herself. And I really like how Sam's going in that direction. And I really want to see more of, as the, like, I think Mary Mouser said they call her Dark Sam.
Mhm.
And I really want to see more of Dark Sam, because I just think it's like the way that character is going is really interesting.
But so, I mean, Sam didn't have to agree to let Tori back in. So, like, what is the anyone have an idea, the thinking of Sam? Like, she does agree to let Tori come back in, and then is real hard on her. Is Sam trying to thread the needle here perfectly, or and I said in my review it felt like a setup without a payoff, but like, Riley, how do you feel about that?
I
You know,
agree.
she agreed to let her back in,
Yeah, it was a little shoehorned in. I think they there was no payoff with it. I agree with you, and it just felt a little out of character for her to walk up to her. I think they could have shown her aggressive side in a different sort of situation, other than her going up and threatening her directly. I think that was a little strange that they did that.
Yeah, and she smiles at the end. She says, "I'm coming for you, bitch." Turns around and smiles. So it's like she's enjoying this, but she also agreed to let her back in. She could have just said, "Don't come back."
Right, and that was good on her part to allow her to come back in. And I agree that she just totally took Aisha's advice and flipped it on its head, like 100%, like totally out of my expectations, I guess. So
Yeah.
that's
Do you think that she could have let Tori back in just to be able to be like, kind of just like taunt her to be like, I could do whatever I want, and you can't touch me?
Well,
Right,
that's I feel like that's the
That's
only.
what I
Yeah,
was thinking too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Talk. I think that. Yeah.
and that's why I call it a setup without a payoff.
Right.
Because as I said, it's almost like an "I own your ass" moment. Like, I control you. You can't do anything. I own you. And she says, "I'm coming for you, bitch." But then there's literally no payoff. Like, it's so odd to me anyway. Like I said, so that's how I always call it, a setup without a payoff.
Yeah.
Tori walks by and looks at Sam, and Sam just
Right.
just like brushes it off. She's like, "Oh, whatever." I was like,
Yeah.
I guess she
is
doesn't
it
really
really-
own her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Riley. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but is it
Oh, no,
really
you're good.
not a payoff, or is it something that we'll see a payoff in season 6 or 7 or somewhere down the line and we won't be expecting it, and then we'll go like, oh, okay.
Well, at this point, if we assume school is out now because Miguel took off, so we'll just assume that the school year is done.
Right.
It seems like you can't really like have a payoff 2 or 3 seasons later. If it was going to happen, it would be in season 4. So that's just sort of, I don't know. So that's just how I don't the best I can do with it, how I think about it.
Would school be out because he left the night of the tournament, and that's I think the tournament's in May.
Yeah, it was May 19th or something.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and so but school here at least doesn't usually get out till June, so I don't know if school would
right.
be out.
Yeah, that's common, but this is the Miyagi verse.
Yeah,
Yeah. Time. If you listen to the interview on Cobra Kai campaign, I just listened to it today. Hayden goes on and on. Stop worrying about time and age and everything. You should just
Yeah.
so apparently school is out now. It ends with the All Valley tournament as school years do in the Valley. So
Well,
Yeah, I'd assume.
if you go back to season 1, they had the tournament, and then season 2 was supposed to start the day after season 1, and they were out of school then.
Oh yeah, that's
So,
true.
if you kind of think of their prior setup of canon, they had it established as tournament is like the last day of school, basically.
Yeah, time moves
Yeah.
differently in the Miyagi verse.
yes, yeah. I mean, in the Valley, it's not even
Yeah,
California.
yeah,
It's just in the Valley, the school year revolves around the karate calendar. So that's what it is,
I see Peter in the chat saying school starts in August in California.
Right. Yeah. So it's just starts early, gets out early. It's about the karate calendar. So, so we were talking about little Sam's little moment there. Does anyone like her? How did you feel about her connection with Johnny? I mean, it was more or less her season-long story arc. Riley, why don't you go ahead and just tell us?
I feel like they definitely should have shown more between them. Like they really didn't have many scenes together. There was probably like 2 or 3 looking back on it. And
right.
They definitely could have used more scenes between them because the connection between Miguel and Daniel is well established for like an entire episode. They spend multiple, like probably at least 15 minutes just between the two of them, but you don't really get that between Tory and Johnny. So I think not Tory and Johnny, Samantha and Johnny. So there should have been more, in my opinion. It felt like it came out of nowhere for her. Like I was like, is she really that attached to Johnny? Not really even having that much time with him, at least on screen.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of think about it, their one actual scene, it goes from her basically calling out Johnny for being a loser and a drunk and all this and all that. And then all of a sudden she has a change of heart, jumps the building. And then the next time you could even think about it, she's flipping bottle caps like Johnny. And it's like, oh, where do we go from you calling this guy a loser to now you're flipping bottle caps and walking around and threatening people? It's like you went, it rubbed off way too quick with there being very little screen time to show that much.
Yeah, I think they should have had more, like at least like a couple minutes more together. They only they had that like one scene, but yeah, I really wish they had more with those two.
Yeah, John, do you have any feelings about their connection?
Yeah, and because there was so much going on with so many characters, I mean they cleaned it up in a couple of lines, right? I mean it was like Johnny tells the team that they're going to jump the building, and Sam says, no, we're not going to do this. And then Johnny says, what, you want to sit in the back seat your whole life? You want to do this, that, or the other thing and have things your own way? No, we're not doing that. And then Sam goes off on her little tangent. And Johnny says, oh, so showing up drunk at my house and having your dad kicking my door was, this, or, messing up my Firebird and that sort of thing. So they addressed what we wanted addressed, but it was done in a way that could accommodate everything else that was going on.
Yeah, you know, and as I said, I felt like there was very little banter. I've been thinking recently, I just feel like something that could have really helped that storyline at the expense of something else is like if you took Devin, Devin really had more banter with Johnny than Sam did, except for Devin was only on screen for like 5 minutes in the whole season.
Yeah,
You know, and
Right.
Sam, it was a season long story arc. It was like this is her season 4 story, and I really felt like Devin had more bantering and bonding with Johnny than she did. And I was sitting there thinking, like, if we just took out Devin and replaced that with Sam, all the banter. She walks in, yeah, I watched Bloodlust or Bloodsport and its sequels, and then she's kicking the guys in the balls. Like, if that was Sam, like I think I would have actually really loved it more, and that was all them bonding. You know, instead, you know, we have this new character, Devin, you know, and it's just like she now bonded with Johnny more than Sam did, except it was Sam's story. So um, you know, so and that was just sort of something I've been thinking about recently. And they were talking, um, you know, you know, they talk about the new characters, and you know, they got to learn to fight and overcome their obstacles. But Devin doesn't have any, not yet,
yeah,
anyway.
Well, and it just seems like Devin was shoehorned in because
Right.
Mhm.
Johnny's dojo didn't have a girl.
Right.
And you know, and with after Daniel and Johnny split up, they both had to have one. And even Miguel brings up, hey, why don't you bring in Sam? Well, then that would take Miyagi-Do's only girl away from them and would leave Daniel without a girl. So it was kind of weird. And also with, you know, Eli going to Miyagi-Do, you never see him actually talk to Johnny after the haircut. You know, he leaves the
Oh, yeah,
dojo,
they
you
don't have
know,
any
with
lines together.
Eagle Fang, and then next thing you know, he's sitting at the house on his computer again. I'm done with karate, talking to Dimitri, and then all of a sudden, next day, he's at Miyagi-Do with no explanation of Johnny of why he did it.
Right. And Johnny
Right.
was the one who told him to flip the script, you know, initially. Like he is the reason that Hawk is, you know, who he is.
yeah. Like he said in season 3, like he made him.
Right.
He knew
Yeah.
who he is, and then they just didn't have any conversation after.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, I look at it and I'm like, Miguel or Hawk walks in with his head shaved, and Johnny is disgusted and vows to never speak to him again. Apparently, because that's what happened in the show anyway. They never spoke again. You know, even like in the tournament, you know, it's like Johnny and Daniel come together for Sam's match, but like I keep thinking, you know, they could have came together for Hawk's match too. Like, why was it Sam's match that brought them together? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
I kind of think that the Eli match with, you know, whenever he tells him, hey, you were in Cobra Kai longer than Robbie, fight like Cobra Kai, which was kind of weird for Daniel to say, but that I think what's made his brain start thinking, hey, maybe me and Johnny do need to work together, you know, for Sam's fight, because he's telling Johnny's former student to fight more like Johnny's way than actually his way.
Right.
yeah,
And then, Mark, you notice also that when Dimitri's fighting Robbie, you know, he comes over there and he's talking to Daniel and that, and he says, I don't know what I'm going to do now that he's all Sith, and he's this, that, and the other. And Hawk says, well, wait a minute, you're taller. You have this advantage over him, you know. So it's like, okay, so Hawk's coaching him up now,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, Hawk, once he joined Miyagi-Do, I mean, they even were phrasing it before he came in that they didn't have a leader, that they didn't have, you know, a younger kid to be their strength. And so Eli actually joining him, you know, and winning and being their best fighter, I think the other kids looked up to him like how Hawk looked up to Miguel, you know, from the original Cobra Kai, you know, season 1, that Miguel was the leader. And then once Hawk joined Miyagi-Do, like he was their leader, which is something he's always looked for.
Right.
yeah.
So speaking though of the new characters, what do you guys think of Lepusso and Kenny?
I really liked their characters this season. I liked how they had Anthony actually like be the bully, and to see how like Daniel reacted and did like the quiet and snap the iPad.
Yeah.
That was like one of my favorite Daniel scenes in the season because he finally was like he was using kind of like Johnny's like ways to lecture Anthony, and that like made Anthony realize like because the next season he took out the trash. So that's like them kind of showing that like it worked on Anthony, that like Johnny's quiet like put him in his place a little bit. I mean, it was just the garbage. But yeah, I really like their characters, and Kenny to be like Sean's brother. I thought that was really cool. But like it yeah, I like those characters.
Right. I thought it was interesting, kind of like Talk said about, they flipped the script. In Karate Kid 1, it was Daniel who was being bullied, and now Daniel has a bully for a son. And, they finally got Anthony into the story because for the first 3 seasons, Anthony sat there and was basically doing absolutely nothing.
Eating pancake tacos.
And
Bullying.
yeah.
Well,
And I thought it was interesting how they flipped the script on that.
well, the kind of one thing with that is I don't really think Anthony was the major bully. I think it was the other kid that kept calling him I don't even know his name, but the kid that always would call him Lapusso.
Yeah, his friends
Like,
were kind of pressuring.
He was
Right.
more of the bully, and
Curly
Anthony
haired
was
kid,
just hanging along and trying to be cool with these guys, and that's how he got involved in it.
Yeah, he's definitely
he was
like
trying to
the
fit in.
bully kid
Yeah.
who gets everyone else to go ahead. Yeah, Zach, the blonde curly head.
Yeah.
Zach.
And the big three is, as Peter is saying in the chat, they have always told us we have a plan for Anthony. It's coming. Don't worry. And it finally paid it off.
Yeah, I like the scenes overall. I liked seeing the conflict within Anthony that, was clearly there, that, he didn't really want to do this. But, all good things come with like a negative, and the bad thing is the scenes with the kids takes away from the time that could have been spent with the other characters. And so on one hand, I do enjoy, the stories and the characters from that plot. At the same time, I feel like it kind of takes screen time away from more important things overall.
You're missing Hawk. You're missing Miguel.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the only problem I have with bringing in all these like new middle schoolers and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Episodes longer.
Yeah, I think many people have said so many different things. People have said more episodes here. Peter earlier, and many have said, why not just, get the episodes a little bit longer? Maybe if you could have 40, 45 minutes, where I guess now it's closer to an hour-long show, or traditionally an hour-long show, than what you're doing as a half-hour show.
Yeah, because I believe the last episode is like 50 minutes long.
Yeah, I think it's 47 minutes. Yeah,
it's like
pretty long. Yeah,
it's a pretty long episode. So it's not like they are restricted on that. Like, certainly there's budget cut. There's budget and other things to consider.
Yeah, money is always the ultimate restrictor.
Yeah, but I do think that the budget between YouTube and Netflix is for the better with Netflix. I would think that if they were going to go longer, they definitely have a better chance of doing that now than they would have had with YouTube.
Yeah.
So one thing about Anthony, I think maybe is his best scene. What do you feel about when in the back dojo there, the home dojo, with Daniel, and he's just, says straight up, I didn't know, Mr. Miyagi. I don't get this. And how did you feel about that?
To me, it does make sense because if you think about it, in timeline, Sam was a young girl when Mr. Miyagi was around. So, Anthony, to him, it really wouldn't. He never met, or could remember meeting Mr. Miyagi, or he doesn't have that connection to him that Sam does, that Daniel does. So to him, he's like this myth that he's always heard of, but to him, he doesn't relate to him. So I do see where he's coming from in that point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that it was a good, I liked how they showed, because I think Mark said He never really. I don't even Anthony even born when Mr. Miyagi was alive?
Yeah,
they-
but
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
died when he was still pretty young.
Yeah, he was
Cobra.
young, so we never really got to like train with him or really have any like conversations with him. So
Right.
I'd like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Daniel and Anthony have a conversation in the dojo at home and Daniel tells him about when he was a little baby and Mr. Miyagi picked him up and Anthony kicked him,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But yeah, you're right. He wasn't really around, when Anthony got older,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a question of what year it is. Like it had me thinking, like, because they say Mr. Miyagi died in 2011 in canon, like on his gravestone,
Right.
and I'm like, it's hard to tell how long Anthony had with him, and it was always a question that I kind of had was like, how long was he in Sam's life? Like, at what age were they when he passed away? So that kind of cleared up a little bit of it. And I'm glad that they had that scene in there
Yeah.
explaining that.
Yeah, Sam would
this
have been like
there.
9 or so, I think, when he died. What do you think about this? There's a season 5 theory. Now that we have Chosen, can Chosen sort of be Anthony's Mr. Miyagi? He can learn karate from Chosen.
Ooh, I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I never
definitely
thought
think
that's
so.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it does seem like Chosen might teach a way that would get Anthony's attention. Not
Yes,
just
I
showing
think
him
so.
the drills and paint the fence and wax on, wax off, paint the house. Chosen might show him more hands-on, actual combat style,
Mhm.
which Anthony could, gravitate towards more.
Yeah, I think Anthony needs to learn from someone who's not his father. I think like for him it's too much of like dad telling me to do chores or
Yeah.
something. So
Right.
yeah, definitely Cobra Kai talk. How do you think about Chosen sort of becoming Anthony's own Mr. Miyagi in his own way?
I think that could be a really good like opportunity for them because yeah, like you said, like he doesn't want like dad telling him to do chores or dad telling him to do this or that. And
Mhm.
I think that Chosen would have a more like he's more like I don't know, like I can't find the words for it. Like he'll tell him but he won't be kind of be like, "Oh yeah, like come on, let's do this now." He'll be like, "Do this," or he'll be more like a Johnny kind of.
Yeah, just straightforward,
Yeah, he'll
strict,
be straightforward and
demanding.
be like, "Yeah, like do this," or
Mhm.
but
Yeah, I was gonna say the same exact thing with him, basically being like a Johnny, more of a Johnny than um, Daniel is. I'm really excited to see Chosen come back, and I think he'll definitely play a role or there's a good chance that will happen, and I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, John, do you think Chosen and Anthony can have something going there?
Right. I do like that idea, and I think that Chosen should be a little bit more militaristic with Anthony. He should be much more stern and much more like, hey, you're not here for fun time. Come on, kind of thing. And then I can see Anthony turning around to Daniel and saying, "Dad, is this guy serious?" And Daniel saying, "Don't look at me," you know, kind of thing. And I think that's what Anthony needs to get him to understand. You've had it easy, you know, until now, and this is real life we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I think and actually I'm looking forward to Sam with Chosen too, because I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
she's got a lot to learn from. What do you think, Cobra Kai talk? Sam can learn from Chosen.
Um, yeah, I think that Chosen is gonna teach her like kind of be like kind of what Johnny did, kind of make her more like not like just move out of the way or like being the one that gets bullied, kind of being not like bullying but sticking up for herself more.
Hmm.
And I think that he's gonna teach her like her karate is obviously gonna improve like a lot that now that Chosen's here to teach her.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that just Chosen is gonna kind of make her more confident in general. So yeah.
Yeah, going off of that, I think that we don't really know quite yet what Chosen's like core values are, like necessarily like how he was taught and how
We
his
know honor. We know
Yeah,
honor is
he-
important.
he- he
honor is
went-
important. But overall, I think the interesting part of the next season will be learning more about Chosen, more about his character, and more about his background. That, you know, how he teaches, what he believes, that sort of thing. It'll be interesting to kind of figure out who he is. It'll be a good opportunity.
Sounds good. John, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think like Riley said, we did get a little bit of how Chosen felt in season 3 because he told Daniel that after they fought, he was ashamed and this, that, and the other thing, in regard to that. And up until then, when he met Daniel, he was like, okay, you disgrace me, so I'm gonna kill you, basically. And then over the time until he saw Daniel again, he figured out that wasn't really a good thing that wasn't really the best way to be, right? So I think that they'll go more into his redemption and how he got there.
Mm-hmm. His redemption, yes, that's definitely where I think it's going towards. Especially, I think Sam can learn something from that. Mark, what do you think about Chosen? Either teaching Sam, teaching Anthony, or the other Miyagi Do's.
Yeah, I could see kind of Chosen fitting in with everyone. It'll be interesting to see, actually what he knows and what his style will be. I do think Anthony will gravitate towards him or closer to him than maybe Sam. Um, I think kind of going forward in some of the other seasons, I think that's kind of the reason why they brought in new characters in season 4 was they're going to kind of slowly evolve the show into a younger cast because most of the other cast is going to be graduating soon or going to college or doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they, switch that up or if that will be kind of the end of the show.
Yeah.
We'll see. Here's a good one from JJ. Do you think Chosen and Eli, who also known as Hawk, will have any type of relationship? Does anyone have any thoughts on that one?
I think they will because if you look at Eli and Hawk's history, he's the only person that's actually learned from everybody, from Kreese, from
Mhm.
Johnny, from Daniel, and even whenever he said like, Sensei versus Sensei, they're going to fight. He was
Mhm.
like, that's awesome because he would see something and maybe learn something, even though he wasn't there for the fight. But I think he would definitely want to learn something from Chosen.
Right. Yeah, because he'll kind of follow what Mr. Miyagi said. He'll put everything together. Like you said, Mark, and he'll do it his own way eventually, but he'll put it all together.
Yeah,
Definitely,
I think that Chosen's Chosen's fighting style, he is more like offensive. I think that matches Eli's like fighting style a little more. So I think that he'll enjoy learning from Chosen a lot because it just matches his fighting style because obviously he was in Cobra Kai for a long time.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that they'll have like a pretty good relationship.
Definitely. One big thing about season 4, and we talked a little bit, it's just the Johnny and Daniel dynamic. Obviously, it's driven the whole show. It drove season 4. They have trouble getting along. They may break up early, and then they're working together great, and then they end up breaking up in episode 5,
Yeah.
and then they enter the tournament separately. So, like, was there any point you were yelling at your TV or whatever? How did you guys take the Johnny and Daniel through the season?
I was kind of disappointed a little bit when they did break down, especially kind of how they did it. It was one scene, basically kind of a couple throwaway lines after Silver, came in and you had Kreese driving a little wedge and, planting seeds of, oh, Johnny's playing second fiddle to Daniel, and then next thing you know, they go out and they're having a fight, knockdown, drag out rematch, which I did enjoy the fight.
Yeah.
But to me, I think that they kind of should have stayed together the entire season, especially for the bet. It would have made more sense if their two dojos were combined instead of splitting up. But
Yeah,
that would
they would have
affect,
won then, right?
that would have affected the whole layout of the tournament. If you add Miguel into their points, then Cobra Kai wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
So it kind of was, plot driven to do it.
Right.
But it was interesting, especially I think it was the second episode, where they did train each other, and Daniel was learning Johnny's style, and actually, he does teach defense. It's an aggressive defense. It's like attack the punch, So that part was good.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that I was a little bit disappointed that it seemed like, Daniel at first was ordering Johnny around, like when he came over to his apartment. And Daniel says, I think that you should join Miyagi-Do. And Johnny says, wait, why do I have to, why do I have to switch? So I was a little bit disappointed in that, because it seemed like, Daniel was kind of, and that wasn't the only time, that they did that throughout the season, where he was kind of like issuing orders rather than being a team player. And this was all about, they had a common goal to make sure that, Kreese didn't win and this, that, and the other. I was a little bit disappointed that they seemed to have, I don't want to say being the bully, because we've already said that, but yeah, Daniel was kind of trying to boss Johnny around, and Johnny wasn't gonna have any of that.
Well, Daniel was always kind of dismissive towards Johnny's dojo in general.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, I can't wait to learn the teachings of Eagle Fang that's been a dojo for a week. It was always kind of like he was looking down. Like 3 weeks, sorry.
Like he was talking down to him.
But yeah, it's like he thought he was better than Johnny. It seemed like almost every time he was condescending to him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, the fight between Johnny and Daniel definitely caught me off guard. I liked the way that it played out. The montage with Johnny training to the burning heart. That was that was probably one of the favorite montages of the entire show. It's such a great scene, and I like how they played it to where they're basically even to one another fight wise. But I expected the rematch to come much later, and I assume that there will be like kind of a final rematch between them. But I didn't like the fact that they broke up in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was like bound to happen that they would break up at some point, because just the story would make more sense. But I mean, I thought that, yeah, like I agree with Mark about how like it was mostly just Daniel talking down to Johnny and thinking that my karate is just more like, my karate is better than yours and you should join me. But I mean, when they were getting along, I'm at maybe episode 2, that like montage of them training the students together. I really liked that, but yeah, the most of the time was just kind of them arguing about whose karate is, like Daniel saying his karate is better, and then Johnny just arguing back, and them. It was just kind of them bickering the whole time when they were together. But I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. So, both times in episode 1, or at least it happens twice, and episode 5. So in episode 1, Daniel goes to Johnny's apartment and he says, I've given it some thought. I think you should join Miyagi-Do. We'll be on the same board, same page, and then in episode 5, when they're at the bar and everyone's, this is the scene, there's many people out there. Oh, I don't like this scene. It was, Johnny's hearing the story, but then Daniel concludes with, I should take over the training. So is Daniel the one kind of initiating the trouble, because they weren't breaking up until Daniel said, I want to take over the training.
Yeah, Daniel was the one who kind of just kept like he was the one that kept making like the arguments
he kept
happen.
needling Johnny. You know.
Yeah, he was
Mhm.
just like he just told the whole story, and then he's like, that's why I need to take the students from you, and obviously that's gonna make Johnny upset, and he just kind of started all of the arguments.
Yeah, I think the part that got Johnny was whenever he said, I just want what's best for Miguel and your students. And
Yeah.
Johnny turns and looks at me and goes, so now you know what's best for Miguel. After Johnny's been seeing Miguel spend a lot of time with him, it's like, wait a minute, why are you trying to take all this away from me? So he kind of felt threatened.
Yeah, it was like eating Johnny up inside, that like he's getting replaced kind of with, even when like they were fixing the car together, Miguel and Daniel, and like Johnny found out, he was upset about it. And then obviously then you have Daniel saying, oh, I just want what's best for Miguel and all your students.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Daniel took Allie, he took Robbie,
And Miguel,
and now he's spending time with Miguel. John's like, wait a second, is this going to happen
he just took
again?
everything from
Definitely
he took
how-
everything.
It's definitely how Johnny feels about it. Here, hold on. Peter says Hayden said the fight was over Miguel because Daniel thinks he knows what's best for him. I don't know if was that in your interview, Peter. I don't actually remember Hayden saying that in your interview. But do you anyone? What do you guys think about that? I'll tell you what I think later. But go ahead and
I kind of agree with that actually, because Miguel has is kind of like changed Johnny's life since the beginning of Cobra Kai. Like if it wasn't for Miguel, he would still be just drunk on his floor. And I think that like him seeing Miguel with Daniel, I think that kind of just like pushed him over the edge after Daniel said, I just want what's best for Miguel and all your students. And yeah, so I actually can see that.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, right after Daniel said that line, Johnny slaps the bar, and that's when they immediately start
Yeah, it gets
arguing.
hostile
It's
after
like
that.
right after that line, and it was just that's the line that pushed Johnny over the edge.
Yeah, because Daniel has to be like, oh, Miguel and your students. He couldn't just say all of your students. He has to say Miguel and all your students.
Yeah, he singled him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why that could be a motivation for the fight, but I also think that deep down, Johnny, it's obvious that the tournament was the low point of his life, right? And he regrets that fight so much that the opportunity to have a rematch like that was certainly in his mind for a long time. So when Daniel brought it up, it was just a drunk idea, but for Johnny it was something that he wanted to do for many, many years.
I mean, if you think about it, it goes back to season 1, whenever they go out drinking and they're actually having a good time together. And Johnny's like,
they're actually agreeing.
They're going to fight it. Let's have a Rocky type fight, like friends fight and sparring. Yeah.
Something, like I'm looking at this, that they were fighting over Miguel, and something I brought up in my video from a little over a week ago, that they were fighting over Miguel. Does anyone think it was just odd or disappointing that, neither Miguel nor Sam tried to stop the fight? In fact, they helped put it on and were reffing it and everything. Like they're like, screw it, let's go. They were all in, when in episode 1, they were all about it, keeping it together.
Yeah, like right before the fight. Oh, sorry.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Even before the fight, Miguel said that he doesn't want anybody to fight, but then he goes and just like hosts the fight.
Yeah, they're literally refereeing it. They're facilitating it.
Yeah, it's like he's just like, oh, I guess we're just gonna do this.
Yeah, he does. He does kind of throw away his line with the he tells him when Johnny's like telling him to set up the crane kick, he's like, I don't think you should be fighting at all.
But and then he puts in he puts in minimal effort to try to stop the fight.
Right.
Like he says he says like one thing, and then it's just like, oh, okay, never mind.
Mm-hmm.
We're just keep going.
But during the fight, it almost seemed like Sam was rooting for Johnny and Miguel was rooting for Daniel. just kind of after the points were scored, the way they would
Right.
say stuff, it was
Yeah,
it
the
was
other
like
one
they
would
were
say it.
opposite each other. You
Very
know what you would
intentional.
expect.
Yeah, and then Johnny and Daniel would look at like either Sam or Miguel, and they'd be like, what the heck? Like after they would
Right.
call the other one's point.
Do you think Sam and Miguel could have stopped the fight if they just stood there
Um,
and blocked the sparring deck and said no?
I think
I
I'm.
think
No,
they
that's not good.
I
Tell.
think they were. I think they were at the point where they just had seen enough with the back and forth between the two of them, and they probably figured, well, if this is going to get it out of their systems, just get it over with.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
I do. I think they were fatigued. I mean, if you think about it, they were already talking about breaking up by the first episode. And
Yeah.
the only reason why they stuck together was for the kids. It was Hawk, coming up with the sparring deck plan and all the kids working together. And then, by episode 5, they're like, these guys still aren't, it's not working. So if this is what we got to try, let's try it.
Yeah, but even like if they did try to stop it, it's like 50-50 because like obviously they care more about the kids than they do about like this stupid fight. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
it's not stupid to them obviously because it's Johnny's been kind of waiting for it for like that many years. But I do think that they would care more about the kids than they would about the fight. But again, like they could have just been that mad that they just didn't care and they just fought like on the grass if they tried to block the sparring deck.
Right. So that's okay. So that's a little bit. I'm gonna rewatch that one more time and then double check that interview because it really came off to me that from what I've seen it so far is that it really felt like Daniel was the one who kept pushing. Let me take over the training or something. But we'll look at it closer.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anyone else have any other general ideas about season 4 opinions?
Yeah, I
think
was just gonna say a couple things because I do actually have to get off here in a second. I've
okay.
got to run my son back home. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Watch Party, for doing this and having us on.
Thank
I
you,
think it's a
Mark.
cool idea, that we can all kind of come in and share our opinions.
Mhm.
One, like I said, I mean, I really enjoyed the show overall. Um, I think there are some points that could, be worked on for next season, but just really looking forward to season 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We all are. With chosen there, that was one of my favorite teases at the end so far, actually.
Yeah, it was probably one of the best teases of like the end of the end of season teaser probably.
Yeah. Like weirdly, everyone liked number 3, but like I was like, okay, I get it, but like I wasn't feeling chills, but I loved the chosen one.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm kind of as far as one thing I did notice, and it may not end up being a big deal with the show overall and where the big three want to go with it because it's really kind of a secondary thing. But have you guys noticed that ever since season 1, it seems like, Sam has, kind of resented Anthony because, you know, there's one point, I forget which episode it is, but she says in season 4 where she says, well, my dad spent all day with my brother and blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh my God, Daniel finally lays the law down to Anthony and finally spends some time with him. And he's been spending 3 seasons with you. What are you complaining about? But,
Yeah,
you know,
I noticed
I mean,
that.
that's more of a family dynamic. I mean, do you guys think that'll play out more as it goes on with Anthony getting into the karate thing, with, Miyagi Do and, trying to find his own way in all of this?
I think there will be some interaction there, but I'm not sure how deep they'll go into that.
I think that they'll start like they might have like a few lines with each. I mean, I think they'll have like a good amount of interactions, but I don't think they're gonna be like talking to each other like the whole season or like be like a big focus with like just Sam and Anthony. But I think that they'll talk like a good amount.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you something. I like family dynamics and stuff, sibling dynamics. I enjoy watching it, and I enjoyed it in season one. They really haven't interacted much. In season three, Anthony was saying some curt lines to her, but she didn't actually respond to him. So
Yeah,
they
she
really, even still in season four, they didn't actually talk to each other at any point. So despite being there, and I think Sam's reaction that her dad was with Anthony all day was her frustration because she feels like a lot of weight on her with this tournament because she has to win the girls division. She's the only girl, and
yeah,
and do the skills, the forms or kata and all that. So I mean, like I definitely actually understand where she's coming from in that line, and I actually am really hoping to get a little bit of sibling dynamics in season five, assuming they're both there training together with Chosen, Daniel, however it works. Just because I'm kind of a sucker for that. I actually do enjoy it.
yeah.
Um,
I-
and if you guys have any questions in the chat, go ahead and ask, and we'll put them up. I think we went through a lot of the main parts of season four that we talked about. So I'd love to happy to talk about this. The nice thing that this software that I'm using is I can put stuff up on the screen,
Yeah.
which I can't do. Um,
So, do you guys think that it's like Miguel's character, like he just like ran away? Do you think it's like I feel like he would have at least like told his mom or something like in person? I just don't think, or like not even just like run away. I don't think that he would like do that.
I will. I mean, it always hits me. Some of it's plot. Some of it is. I mean, I felt like it was kind of an extreme
Yeah,
for him too. Going to another country. He doesn't have any money. I will assume he has a passport or whatever. But
yeah,
I mean, because he got on the bus. But definitely, and he said nothing to Sam either. So
yeah. Like I thought he would like I thought he would at least tell Sam or at least somebody. But
yeah, he didn't tell Sam. He didn't tell Johnny actually.
Yeah,
Even the note said, "I love you" and Yaya.
he
It
never
didn't say
said
tell
anything.
Johnny
Yeah,
I'll be
noticed
okay.
that.
You know,
Well, I think he kind of wanted to avoid somebody trying to stop him. So
Right.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have told Carmen, or he wouldn't have told Johnny or Daniel or anybody, because they would have tried to stop him, and then there would have been the whole, well, what do you don't want to do that,
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Right.
And he really, and he's always, I think Miguel has always had questions about his father, and all we've heard is the little bit we've heard about, well, he was a bad guy and he was in bad business and this, that, and the other. And but I think he did it mainly because he didn't want somebody to try to talk him out of it.
yeah. I just think that like running away is just like something that he would do. Like he was always like happy, even in season 3. Like after he got hurt and he was like getting back, he was happy, and then all of a sudden he just like wants to run away.
right. I mean, I agree. I mean, it was a very stretch for the character.
Yeah, it was kind of
It was
Riley, do you-
definitely the biggest. It was definitely the biggest twist for me. Like the biggest question mark for me in the end. Like every like that and the Kreese getting arrested. Like for like those two things were kind of, I hope that they go in the right direction with it, but I'm not sure. Like I'm not too sure how I feel about those plot lines yet. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna wait on
we'll have
it.
to see for season 5. Peter
Right.
has a good one here that I forgot. Just the shift cousin Ness.
Yeah.
I
This goes
covered
back
this
to
in
the
my
family
review.
dynamic.
Yeah. Mhm. So what did you guys think of Julia Macchio coming in?
Oh, she was great. She was awesome. I mean,
Yeah, she did a really good
Yeah.
job.
It was a cool scene. It was a cool scene to have. I think it definitely highlighted some of the issues that that the parents have with
Yeah, that they're terrible parents to him.
yeah.
well, not terrible, but I
They
think
just
it
push him
called a lot
aside.
into question about their parenting, and they didn't like it, and it forced them to take a look in the mirror.
Yeah, they had a realization that they needed to like spend more time with Anthony.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
And it's like I said, I think it was a lot of fun. I think Julia enjoyed that scene for sure. So, I mean, I covered that in yeah, it was kind of like a scene, like everyone thought something had to come. Someone had to sit Daniel and Amanda down and be like, what the heck are you doing with Anthony? And
Yeah,
they've kind of, Anthony is an afterthought even for them. So
yeah. I liked how she kind of brought up the realization about that they need to figure out what they're doing with Anthony because they're just pushing him aside.
mhm.
Right. Yeah.
So let's
And
see. There, I was will Sam and Tori be frenemies? I guess this can be any season. I guess it doesn't necessarily have
right.
to be season 5. What do you
Yeah.
guys think?
I personally don't think they'll ever be close in that way. I think they will be kind of respective of like one another. Like they'll be respectful towards one another, but I don't think they'll necessarily get along.
Right.
I think with all the history that goes back into it, it's just more of a come to terms with your differences and just leave it at that. Bear the hatchet and just go there. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Right. I tend to agree.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it'll be, they'll be forced together at some point for some reason, but other than that, they won't be, buddy or anything like that.
Now for Robbie and Miguel, there's potential that. Well, I don't know about that, but maybe there's potential that they reconcile.
Yeah, I mean, if Robbie goes with Johnny, then they might If Robbie goes with Johnny, they might have to be forced to get along at some
That's something
point.
that I've been waiting for really a long time is that reconciliation between the two of them. Something that I was hoping for in season 4, but obviously we didn't get it.
Eventually, it'll be there because Carmen's going to be with Johnny, and eventually,
Step
Robbie
brothers.
and Miguel will have to come to, an understanding of some kind.
Right.
So eventually that will come.
Yeah. Hopefully in season 5, I'm really looking forward to when they do that.
Yeah,
So,
but I'm also curious how Miguel will react when he sees that Robbie's there with Johnny.
Yeah,
there will definitely be conflict.
Yeah,
sure.
there's probably going to be like a little bit of Miguel is going to be mad about it for some reason.
Yeah, they both are, have a lot of anger. So,
Yeah.
Right.
So let's see. Do you think Chosen will be a recurring character until the series is over? And will you bet heads with Daniel?
I don't think he'll butt heads with Daniel necessarily. There might be, there always has to be, some conflict, or else, it's just
Right.
it's bad.
Or there's no point to it.
Yeah, it could just be like Daniel thinking that one of Chosen's moves or something is a little too extreme, or
Right.
just little arguments there, but I
Right.
don't think they'll ever be I don't think they'll ever fight each other in a
Yeah, like a
I'm
Johnny kind of way.
Will Daniel respect Chosen more because he knows it's Miyagi-Do? Karate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I think so. Yeah, because Daniel and Chosen have had their, Daniel's forgiven him for what happened in Okinawa and Karate Kid 2. And Chosen's admitted that it really wasn't the best thing for him to do. You know.
Trying to kill him and all.
Yeah, and trying to murder him. Or...
Yeah.
And even Kumiko told Daniel, was like, Chosen changed, know. And in Karate Kid 2, Kumiko says, well, he has no idea what honor is. Ever since we were kids, he's always been, that way. But now she's telling Daniel in season 3 he's changed, and Daniel's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah,
kind of thing. And
I think they'll get along better than Daniel would with Johnny. So, and I think he will be a recurring character. He'll be in every episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'll
but
be in every season forthwith as some going forward in some way or other.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, definitely 5. We'll see what happens. Maybe he gets
Maybe.
into a fight to the death with Silver, and
yeah, if that fight happens, that'll be like the best fight
Right.
ever.
It's definitely
Yeah.
gonna be interesting to see what the
You
final
know,
fight will.
That brings up another question, watch party, and that is originally when Kreese came in at the end of season 1, it was originally thought, and even you brought this up in a video, that he would only be there for season 2 and 3. That was the original plan, and then the Netflix switch happened, and the whole thing changed, right? So, but with Silver, Robert Mark Kamen says in multiple interviews with Peter and with Cobra Kai Kid and with Cobra Kai Theory, I think I heard him say, well, Silver will be there for 4 and 5. So, we know Silver's going to be in 5, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
how does he exit stage left, right?
well, here's the thing. And you're right, and I went a lot on that interview, and where Martin Cove said, he's talking about when he first met them, and this is, I think it was when a little before they went into production on season 1. So it was 2017. It was like fall of 2017 is when they went into production, and they were getting everything ready, and they were meeting with a lot of people then, the original actors, from the series about, coming back and stuff, and they met with him, and they had basically already written him, to come in at the end of season 1, and then be in seasons 2 and 3, and it makes me think, so did they tell him, we have this big 6-season plan in mind, or whatever it is, or I think maybe at the time it may have just been like and this is literally just me spitballing random ideas, like they signed a contract, so come in, as just like a guest star for season 1, and then you can sign on for seasons 2 and 3, and then we'll sign you for more down the line, which is, kind of the way a lot of it's done for actors, for recurring roles or whatever, and I don't know any of the specifics about their negotiations for that sort of thing at all, but that's maybe what I was thinking, is at the time, we're going to offer you a contract for seasons 2 and 3, so they wanted to obviously tie him up. If they were going to have him in at the season 1, they wanted him, basically tied up so he could come in and not be like, oh, I got a movie, so
Right.
doing something else. So I mean, that's what I'm assuming now, just to what Cove was talking about. And in regards to Thomas Ian Griffith now in season 4, yeah, definitely Robert Mark Kamen was like, yeah, he's great in seasons 4 and 5, and Robert Mark Kamen said that while they were still shooting season 4. So so maybe it's just the same thing. Maybe they just came in and gave him a 2-year contract and said something like that. That's my best guess as to something like that. But definitely maybe Silver is gone at the end of 5, and season 6 is something else.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. This is kind of like tangential to that, but I hope that season 5 kind of sets up somewhat of an ending season, because I want Cobra Kai to have a good ending. I think my fear is that the more seasons go on and the more characters you introduce, the less and less it feels like the original show. And so I'm hoping that with season 5 they set up maybe season 6 to be the final one, and that you get like a cohesive beginning, middle, and end to the story. And, spin-offs if they would like to do that, but at least keep Cobra Kai contained in a story, like with a
Right.
good plan for the ending,
Well, they
And
always
that's
said they do have an ending in mind. They just don't know how
right.
long it'll get there. So
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
Riley, that's kind of why I brought it up when we were talking about when I was talking about Martin Cove and Thomas Ian Griffith, is I'm starting to wonder, um, as much as I enjoy both of them and I love both of them as actors, how much longer can Kreese's uh, story go on, and what is really left for him to do, and what is left for with after season 5, what was really left for Silver. We wanted him back in, and we got him, and he shook things up. But what's the overall for him? I mean, because my thought has always been, okay, he got Kreese arrested, and somehow or other, now at the end of whatever happens, I think Silver is going to end up in jail. I think that's the crash and burn for him, is for him to end up in jail.
It's a good chance,
But
yeah.
but I'm wondering, what I'm just thinking now about, since they did say they had the 6th season plan in mind, and they did say it could change. They have this thing in mind, and they have, it could change. But what's the how long can they go on with the same
well,
the
they
same
have something
things
in
going?
mind. So
Yeah.
so I definitely think we'll get different flow. The show has been very similar to the movies so far, and I think the show is going to change too. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Um,
the last thing I want to say is, I don't that's why I keep saying I don't think that Barnes can just come in and be loyal to Silver. I think if he comes, it has to be something other than, okay, we're just going to rehash Karate Kid 3. That just doesn't seem logical to me that they would do that,
mhm.
because Silver says, "Oh, don't worry, I'll find a friend or two to take care of Cobra Kai." Well, did he mean Barnes? Did he mean Snake? Did he mean Dennis? I mean, if he did, that's kind of predictable.
Well,
Yeah.
true, but the seasons tend to end actually in a very predictable way, like
Yeah.
Ali. So we'll see what happens, and obviously what we don't know is what happened after the tournament of Karate Kid 3. So we don't know what sort of terms they left on or anything.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't know if it was like a Kreese and Johnny situation, or it was kind of like a peaceful, like just like they just like went their separate ways, or
Yeah, I imagine Silver would kind of pitch it to Barnes like like, here's the deal. Like, I made the deal with you a long time ago. Here's your chance to,
yeah,
take
like
it.
take your
get
50% again, or
right, something like that, where he will reconcile with him in one way or another. We'll see, kind of the dynamic between the two of them. If he comes back, that's always in question. He might not come back, but I'm leaning towards he probably will.
Well, Sean Kanan was off in Atlanta while they were shooting season 5, so
yeah,
yeah, I
Oh,
think you can just kind of say he's gonna be back.
And
He's posting from the
he just
Atlanta
went on
airport.
vacation.
Yeah.
yeah, and he's kind of always been clear that he wanted in. It was just a matter of timing.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, he didn't want to come in just to be
Just
there
to
and
be
then
there.
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Melissa, do you think Silver giving up redemption in season 4 means that you have no redemption at all after that? I'll, well, if in the Star Wars parallel, if Silver's taking the Emperor role, then that definitely looks like to be the case.
Yeah,
As we said,
I
he
agree.
went from being redeemed back down to the descent of the bad guy. So
yeah. I think that he's gonna be one of the characters that doesn't have a redemption, and his
Mhm.
story just ends off
Right.
in a bad way.
Right. Yeah, I think it's more likely that Kreese would be redeemed in that scenario.
Right. Yeah. Here's like I think Kreese can have redemption, but at the same time, there are like some things that he did that were just, it's hard to see
Right.
past. Like when he tried to stab Daniel at the end of
Right.
season 3, I was like, he just tried to murder him, like straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't want to kill him right there. That's pretty
Yeah.
that's
But-
pretty bad.
But
And he
so-
actually has committed murder. So
Yeah.
he killed Justin Turner,
Yeah.
which was a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Which, if Silver wanted to, he could go to the DOD and say, "Hey, this guy killed this guy in Vietnam. I don't think they'll go there, but he could."
yeah.
Yeah, and just Kaylee, they've always said 6. They're kind of fudging that a little bit now. I honestly think maybe they're thinking 7.
Yeah.
In their mind, they always wanted 7. They thought they could do it in 6, so they just said publicly 6. I mean, obviously, I don't know what they're thinking, but sort of, if you think, asking me how long do they want to go, I think they're kind of hoping for 7 now, and since it is legitimately and indisputably doing really well on Netflix. I hope Netflix is willing to go out that. Obviously, they make their decisions. They make decisions for reasons you and I wouldn't understand. It could be budget, it could be all sorts of things, but I think definitely they're hoping for 7 now. I think is the way they're kind of the hints I'm getting.
Yeah, Cobra Kai's a moneymaker.
Yeah.
That's for
Right.
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Something that John, I think it was John or Riley, that Kreese tried to kill Daniel, but so did Chosen, and Daniel forgave him.
That's fair.
So
But-
you never know.
Well, the
Um,
difference there is that they were in a foreign country when it happened, and it would have been under the jurisdiction of Okinawan law as opposed to American law.
Well, we're just
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah, we're talking about how
just on
Daniel would
personal,
forgive him.
not a legal
Right.
system.
Yeah. So
Well,
I
I
think
mean, it's also the fact that Chosen's already kind of apologized to Daniel, and they've kind of gotten past that. But
yeah. But I
Yeah.
think if Kreese,
Kreese, it was like maybe a year
yeah,
before that, so or a couple of months before that. So it's like the difference between 30 years and like a couple of months.
yeah, I think that if Kreese maybe tries to like make amends, it might not be
Right.
like completely like, oh yeah, it's like fine, but he kind of like, because like Kreese is going like he has like illnesses. I think I'm pretty sure he's going through like
yeah,
PTSD and
he has
been through a lot.
PTSD. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's been through a lot more than like most people have. So I think that Daniel might be able to find like a spot for some sympathy.
Right.
Yeah, that's the point.
And we found out in season 3 that Kreese was bullied by David. Over Betsy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Here,
Right.
Melissa is a very loyal viewer. Maybe we'll make this. We've gone 2 hours now. I think maybe we'll start
Yeah.
winding down. But Melissa, do you think Sam will turn into a bully towards Tory and possibly join Cobra Kai if Tory decides to leave? I don't think that either will happen, but I'm just curious to hear about your opinion.
Yeah, no. Sam would never join
Yeah.
Cobra Kai. It's
Yeah,
like,
I don't
he'll never
think that would
join
happen.
Cobra Kai, and we've
But-
already kind of been there.
she is kind of a bully at this point. I mean, like
Right.
she's arguably, like, if you look at it, they've both been kind of bullies to each other, but Sam
Right.
kind of initiated the whole thing to begin with. So
Right.
in a way, she kind of always has been the bully.
Yeah.
Even though it's not framed that way, that's kind of how it has been set up.
Sam's the reason
in
that all
my
this has happened.
Right, exactly. Sam is
From
know,
making
she kisses the girl. She
framed Tory for stealing the wall. She tried to frame Tory.
Yeah.
for stealing
Well, I
the
mean, it really in season 2 it started because Amanda's wallet was missing, and it seemed that Sam automatically assumed that because Tori took the wine,
Yeah,
she took it.
an assumption that started a karate war.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I never could see. So, but prior to season 4, I always thought that the way Sam ends up in Cobra Kai, and this is my theory, and now this seems totally out of the water, is out of possibility, is I always thought Johnny would be back at Cobra Kai teaching, and Miguel would come with him, and I always imagined Sam would follow Miguel to Cobra Kai. So that would be the only way if Johnny was back teaching and Miguel was with Johnny, and then Sam would come with Miguel. Obviously, that didn't happen. So instead, we got Sam in Eagle Fang for like half an episode. So,
It was actually like 2 minutes of an episode.
well, she was there. She was sitting on the roof, so it really was for a couple episodes. But she just didn't have much like dialogue with Johnny.
Yeah,
but
that's
but
true, yeah.
but we talked about that earlier in the stream. But yeah, so I don't see Sam going to Cobra Kai in any way. Even if something like she was mad at her parents for some reason, like when Daniel said to Anthony, "Or is this some sort of what?" I forget the exact line. Like rebel. Like what are you trying to do? But like so no. And and how much is Sam into a bully as against Tori? Like, yeah, that's kind of a complicated question. I feel like the most bully part of her was at the end of episode 6, but then we talked about that too, where at least in my own opinion, it just felt like she's like, I can bully you. You ready this? You better get ready because I'm going to bully you. And then she turns around, smiles to herself, and then doesn't actually do it. So I
don't think she's really gonna be like a bully, but she's gonna be like, I can if I want to. Like,
she's like, really if I want to bully you, I really can. You better be watching.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna do it because I'm too scared.
Right. I don't want to get suspended.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, there's kind of another question I kind of had that is a little. It's not necessarily related to this, but do you think Johnny will ever like reclaim Cobra Kai? Like in the end, do you think there's a possibility that he returns to?
I always thought certainly.
I always thought so too.
I want to see that, like him in like the dojo, and
I don't understand the show if he doesn't.
Yeah,
right.
I'll just put it like that. I don't understand the show if Johnny's not back at Cobra Kai at some point. I actually thought it would be sooner. I did think. I have a video. Johnny rejoins Cobra Kai. I thought it would happen at the end of season 4.
Right.
Season 4 went differently than I thought. Okay, so now they're going to Mexico. We'll see, but like I don't understand the show if Johnny doesn't. So we'll see.
Right. Here's hoping.
Let me just. Kyler has been bullied. Yes. Every time it's bad in trig or any math class.
Father said he's gonna shit in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But we've gone for 2 hours. Just for people who came in later, you don't know. Riley, Cobra Kai Talk, John here, and Mark earlier. They're the channel members. They joined up. I thank you guys for that. And it's something, there's a little join button right there on your screen. You can hit it, and it's like $5 a month. I want to do something for the channel members. I've been making a lot of posts for these guys, just sort of, but it's a way to, get a little bit closer and support this channel, which I love doing. So I think for all of you, all the viewers, all the subscribers, and you guys, the channel members. Anything sort of else left you want to sort of say as you're before we...
thank you for like doing this. It was really fun. I mean, I was a little nervous, but then like near the end it got more comfortable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But just thank you for doing this stream. It was really fun.
Thanks a lot for having me, Watch Party. It was really a blast, and I got to share thoughts and ideas with you guys. So it was really great.
Yeah, it was great to be here with you guys. Thank you, Watch Party, for hosting this. It was nice to hear a bunch of different perspectives and ideas and questions about the season. And I look forward to an opportunity where we can do this again.
Definitely. We'll figure out something else to do. We'll keep it up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for watching the videos. Actually, my videos are doing so much better than they did after season 3. It's almost
Yeah, I
surprising
noticed.
to me. I think there's a lot of love for Cobra Kai, and it's
Yeah.
just expanding and getting out. And sometimes you see us and we're nitpicking. I think we're really fans of the show first.
Yeah.
So
Right,
definitely,
right.
it was a lot of fun. So thank you, everyone, for coming in. We referenced Cobra Kai Companion has an interview with John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg. They just dropped that yesterday. Find it on their YouTube channel or the podcast. There was a lot of references to that interview. So there's some other info out there, and I will be doing my part, everyone. So thank you, and we'll see you at the next watch party.
All right, awesome.